The fluorescent lights in the empty school hallway hummed a low, constant note, a sort of sleepy lullaby to the quiet night. Leo had always thought it was the loneliest sound, especially on a Friday. Most folks were out enjoying themselves, but Leo, he was here, pushing his mop bucket, the squeak of its wheels. His only company. His hair was mostly silver, and his back had a permanent ache from years of cleaning floors, scrubbing toilets, and hauling trash. But he didn't complain. He had a job, a steady paycheck, and clean halls to show for his efforts. There was a quiet satisfaction in that tonight. The high school felt especially vast. Summertime meant fewer evening events, fewer lingering students, just Leo and the silent classrooms waiting for Monday morning to burst them back to life. He preferred it this way, really. Less mess, more peace. As he moved from the science wing to the English department, Leo often hummed. Not always a specific tune, sometimes just a rambling melody that formed in his head. But tonight a particular song kept bubbling up. It was an old one, a classic one. His mom used to play on their worn-out record player, "Can't Help Falling in Love" by Elvis Presley. He started softly, the words a low rumble in his chest. "Wise men say only fools rush in." His voice wasn't strong, not like a singer's, but it was earnest. It had a comforting, slightly gravelly quality, like a well-worn path. "But I can't help falling in love with you." He pushed the mop, the wet swish of the head against the linoleum keeping time with the slow, romantic rhythm of the song. He thought about how simple life seemed in those old songs: love, heartbreak, joy. All laid out plain and clear. Leo reached the end of the long hallway, turning the corner towards the main office. The framed pictures of smiling students and stern-faced principals looked down from the walls. He'd seen so many come and go over the years. Graduations were always a little sad, a little hopeful. Life moving on. He loved Elvis, not just the music, but the whole story. The poor boy from Tupelo, Mississippi, who became a king. There was something magical about that, something that made you believe in possibility, even in a quiet school hallway in the middle of the night. He moved into the office area, starting on the reception floor. This part always felt a bit grander with the polished wood and the school emblem on the wall. He picked up the pace of his humming, the melody a bit more confident. He pictured Elvis, young and vibrant on a stage, singing to a crowd. He imagined the cheers, the flashing lights. For a moment Leo was there, part of that magic. "Shall I stay?" he sang, a little louder now, forgetting for a moment that he was alone. Would it be a sin? He paused, leaning on his mop, looking out the large windows at the dark campus. The streetlights cast long shadows, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves in the oak trees. It was peaceful, too peaceful, sometimes. That's when the humming really helped, filling the quiet. Leo continued through the office, polishing the desk surfaces, emptying the small trash cans. The song was a comforting presence, a private concert for one. He wasn't thinking about anything deep, just the next verse, the simple beauty of the melody. "If I can't help falling in love with you." He finished the line, a small, contented sigh escaping his lips. He wiped down a final desk top, feeling the familiar ache in his lower back. Time to move on to the library. As he pulled his mop bucket towards the library doors, a thought flickered through his mind. Was that a faint echo he heard? A low hum, almost like a harmonized whisper, trailing off just as he finished the song. He shook his head. Must be the ventilation system, or just his tired ears playing tricks on him. It was a long night, and his imagination could be pretty vivid sometimes. He chuckled softly to himself, an old janitor, humming old songs in an empty school. Nothing remarkable about that, just another usual night, or so he thought. Pushed the library doors open. The quiet waiting for him inside the library was Leo's favorite part of the school. It smelled of old paper and dust, a comforting scent. Rows and rows of books, stories waiting to be discovered. Even though he rarely read them, he respected the quiet knowledge they held. He started vacuuming the carpeted aisles, the low growl of the machine. a counterpoint to the quiet. His mind drifted back to the song he'd just been humming. Can't help falling in love. It was stuck in his head now. He found himself humming the melody again, a little louder this time over the vacuum cleaner's steady thrum. Wise men say only fools rush in, he hummed, his voice barely audible above the machine. He moved the vacuum back and forth, the lines of clean carpet appearing behind him like magic. As he reached the far corner near the fiction section, something shifted. It wasn't just his voice, or the vacuum, or the school's general hum. It was distinct, a deeper, richer tone, a voice clear as a bell joining his own. But I can't help falling in love with you. Leo froze. The vacuum kept going for a second, then he switched it off. The sudden silence was deafening. He stood there leaning on the vacuum handle, his heart doing a funny little flip in his chest. Had he imagined that he was alone, completely alone? He'd checked all the doors when he came in. He strained his ears, listening. Just a settling hum of the school building, the distant whine of the refrigerator in the staff lounge. He shook his head, a little embarrassed. He really was getting old hearing things. Maybe he needed more sleep. He switched the vacuum back on, determined to ignore the strange sensation. Pushed it forward, humming the next verse, almost daring the voice to reappear. Shall I stay? Would it be a sin? And there it was again. Clearer, this time, stronger. It wasn't a hum. It was a full resonant baritone, blending perfectly with his own shaky tune. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. This wasn't just an echo. This was real. A chill ran down his spine. But it wasn't fear. It was more like wonder, mixed with a healthy dose of disbelief. He was a practical man. He dealt with spilled milk and broken windows, not disembodied voices. He took a deep breath. Hello? He called out, his voice a little hoarse. Is anyone there? Only silence answered him. The air seemed to shimmer, but that could just be his eyes playing tricks. He felt a presence, though. A warmth, a sort of gentle energy that filled the space around him. It was almost like the library itself was breathing, listening. He always locked up tight. And the voice, it sounded so perfect, like a professional singer. Like him. Leo, he muttered to himself. You're tired. You're hearing things. Go home. Get some rest. But as he picked up the vacuum again, a faint, almost imperceptible warmth brushed past him, and then, clearer than before, a soft, rich chuckle. It wasn't mocking. It was amused. Gentle Leo dropped the vacuum handle. His mouth hung open. This was too real. He felt a thrill, a wild, impossible hope blossom in his chest. Was it possible? Could it be? He thought of old movies, of legends, of stories beyond what he knew. This was definitely not a usual night anymore. He stood in the quiet library, waiting, his heart thumping like a drum. He knew, deep down, that he wasn't alone. And he was starting to suspect who his unseen companion might be. Leo stood frozen. The hum of the school's ventilation system, the only sound filling the vast library he had heard. The chuckle, soft but unmistakable. It was warm, full of a gentle amusement that made his own lips twitch into a nervous smile. He wasn't crazy, he decided. He wasn't just tired. Something truly extraordinary was happening. He took a tentative step forward, peering around the corner of the last bookshelf. The air in that spot seemed to rivel like heat rising from a summer road, but it was just for a split second, then it settled nothing. He walked closer, his old work shoes squeaking faintly on the carpet. Hello? He tried again, a little louder, his voice trembling slightly with anticipation. Are you still here? For a moment there was no reply. Leo felt a flicker of disappointment. Had he scared it off? Was it just a fleeting moment of magic that was now gone? He sighed, running a hand through his thinning hair. Then a faint, almost ethereal light began to glow near the large world globe in the center of the library. It wasn't bright, more like the soft gleam of moonlight on water. It shimmered, growing slowly, swirling inward like mist before sunrise. As it intensified, Leo could make out a shape forming within the light. His breath hitched in his throat. The shape solidified, coalescing into a figure. It was a man, tall and broad-shouldered. He wore a crisp white suit, the kind Leo had only seen in old photographs, with a high collar and a flash of red at the neck. His dark hair was styled just so, falling across his forehead with that famous curl, and his eyes, even from a distance, seemed to hold a captivating sparkle. It was impossible. It couldn't be. Leo blinked, rubbing his eyes hard. The figure remained solid and undeniable, standing by the globe, a gentle smile playing on his lips. "Well, hello there, Leo," the man said, his voice deep and smooth, resonating with a familiar, undeniable timbre that sent a jolt through Leo's entire body. It was the voice. Leo felt his knees wobble. The man took a slow step towards him, his smile widening. "You know who I am, don't you, son?" His eyes, blue and warm, met Leo's. "And you got a pretty good hum going there, real soulful." It was him. Elvis Presley. Well, that's one way to put it, I suppose. He took another step closer now. Leo could see the detail of his suit, the way the light seemed to dance off it. He didn't look like a ghost in the scary sense. He looked vibrant, alive in a way that defied explanation. "Seems like I'm not entirely gone when there's good music to be made," Elvis said, gesturing around the library. "And a man with a true heart humming my tunes in the dead of night. That's a rare find, Leo." Leo could only gape. He was face to face with his idol, his hero, the man whose music had soundtracked his life. He wanted to ask a million questions. How are you here? Are you a ghost? An angel? Why, me? But all he could manage was a whispered, "The king." Elvis smiled, a genuine, humble smile that softened his famous features. "Just Elvis tonight, Leo. Just Elvis. And you, my friend, have a lovely way with a melody." Leo felt a flush creep up his neck. Leo the janitor, was getting a compliment from Elvis Presley. The absurdity, the absolute surrealness of it almost made him laugh or cry. He wasn't sure which. He was simply overwhelmed. This wasn't a trick of the light or a tired mind. This was real. And his quiet, lonely night had just become the most extraordinary night of his life. Leo stared at Elvis Presley, his mind reeling. He pinched himself hard. Nothing. The king stood before him, solid as anything in a dazzling white suit. This was really happening. So Leo managed to stammer, his voice a little stronger this time. You're really here in person?" Elvis nodded, his blue eyes twinkling. "As real as it gets, Leo, or as real as I get these days." He gestured around the library. "Nice place you got here. Lots of stories in these walls, I bet." Leo gulped. "Yeah, well, it's a school library, my workplace." He felt suddenly self-conscious, standing there in his work overalls, a mop bucket just out of sight. He was Leo, the humble janitor. And this was Elvis, a workplace where the music echoes just right. Elvis mused, taking a slow turn, admiring the bookshelves. "You got good acoustics here. I felt your song, Leo, like a gentle tug." "A tug?" Leo asked, trying to process this. "Yeah, like a strong memory, a true feeling. Most folks, they listen to my records. They think of the shows, the crowds. But you just hummed it like it was part of you. That's special." Elvis turned back to Leo, his expression serious for a moment, then it softened again. "I hear it, you know. The love for the music, the real pure love. Not the fame, not the fuss, just the song." Leo felt a warmth spread through his chest. He had always just loved the music. It was that simple. He didn't care about the tabloids. He just liked the way Elvis's voice made him feel. "So what are you?" Leo finally asked, daring to voice the biggest question. "Are you a ghost?" "An apparition," Elvis chuckled. A rich, full sound that filled the library. "Ghost? Nah, not in the spooky way. An apparition, maybe. Think of it like this, Leo. Music has a powerful energy. It connects people, even a little attached to that energy. especially when it's pure and true, like yours. He paused, then continued, his voice taking on a softer, almost wistful tone. I love singing, Leo, more than anything, but sometimes when it got so big, so loud, so many demands, it wasn't just about the music anymore. It was a machine. I missed the simple joy of just singing a song for the sheer pleasure of it. Your humming, it was like a beacon. A quiet, honest moment of pure music. It drew me here, a chance to just sing without all the fuss. Leo's eyes widened. He had pulled Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, to his high school library simply by humming a tune. It was an unbelievable thought, but it made a strange kind of sense. It felt right in a way that defied logic. So you need to sing? Leo asked. You could say that, Elvis replied, a slight shrug of his broad shoulders. It's restorative. It grounds me, reminds me of what truly mattered. And your voice, Leo, it's got a quiet strength. It resonates. Leo, a man who rarely felt important, felt a surge of something new. A purpose. He, Leo the janitor, could help Elvis Presley sing again. It was the most fantastic, absurd, and wonderful thing he had ever heard. Well, Leo said, a small, genuine smile forming on his face. If you want to sing, I'm here anytime. My shift goes until 5 in the morning. Elvis grinned, a flash of that famous charisma. I appreciate that, Leo. I shrewdly do. Now how about we try that Can't Help Falling in Love again, together this time, properly? Leo's heart swelled. He nodded, unable to speak, too overwhelmed by the sheer joy and impossibility of the moment. Leo was about to have a private concert with Elvis Presley, the king, in his library. It was a secret, magical moment. Just for them, Leo still felt like he was floating. Elvis Presley, the legend, had asked him to sing properly. Leo, a man who only ever sang in the shower or whispered tunes to himself in empty hallways. All right, Leo, Elvis said, his voice gentle. You take the lead on the first verse, just like you were doing, and I'll join in when the time feels right. No pressure, just feel the song. Leo nodded, his throat dry. He closed his eyes for a second, trying to calm his racing heart. He took a deep breath, letting the familiar melody fill his mind. He opened his eyes, meeting Elvis's gaze. The king gave him an encouraging nod. Wise men say, Leo began, his voice a little shaky at first, but gaining confidence with each note. Only fools rush in. He focused on the words, on the simple beauty of the tune. He poured all the quiet longing he sometimes felt into the song, all the unsung emotions. But I can't help falling in love with you. As he finished the line, a warmth spread beside him. Elvis's voice, rich and smooth as velvet basso, blended with his own. It wasn't just a harmony. It was like two rivers merging, becoming one stronger, more beautiful current. Shall I stay? Elvis sang, his voice carrying the melody with effortless power, yet holding back just enough to not overpower Leo. Would it be a sin? Leo joined him, the words flowing more easily now. He wasn't thinking about who he was singing with or where he was. He was just singing, and it felt amazing. The library, normally so quiet, vibrated with the music. If I can't help falling in love with you. They sang the chorus together, their voices weaving around each other. Leo felt a surge of pure joy. His voice, usually so unremarkable, seemed to gain strength, clarity, a sweetness he hadn't known it possessed. It was like Elvis's voice was drawing out the best in him, polishing every note. As they moved into the bridge, Elvis's voice took on a deeper, more emotional quality. Like a river flows surely to the sea, he looked at Leo, a genuine warmth in his eyes. Darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Leo's eyes welled up slightly. He understood. This moment, this impossible duet, felt truly meant to be. It was a connection that transcended everything he understood about the world. They finished the song, the final "falling in love with you," lingering in the air, a beautiful, perfect echo. When the last note faded, the silence that followed wasn't empty. It welled with a sense, peace, a quiet contentment. "Leo," Leo whispered. The word barely audible. That was incredible. Elvis smiled, a genuine happy smile. "You got a natural talent, Leo. Don't let anyone tell you different. You just gotta let it out." He clapped Leo gently on the shoulder. "Feels good, doesn't it?" Leo nodded, feeling, like flying. "That's what music is all about," Elvis said, his eyes distant for a moment as if recalling countless performances. Making people feel something, making them feel alive. He looked back at Leo. "And tonight you helped me feel alive again, Leo. Truly alive for the first time." In a long time, Leo felt a lump in his throat. To think that he, a simple janitor, could offer something so profound to a legend. It was humbling, yet incredibly empowering. He felt a bond forming, a silent understanding between them. It wasn't just about the music, it was about connection. And in that moment, in the quiet school library, two very different men found a common ground, united by a song and a shared unspoken longing. After their first song, the awe didn't completely fade, but the initial shock lessened. Leo found himself more comfortable, more able to talk. Elvis, it turned out, was an excellent listener. "So, you clean this whole place by yourself, Leo?" Elvis asked, leaning against a bookshelf. His posture relaxed. "Most nights, yeah," Leo replied, feeling a strange normalcy settle over the situation. He was just talking to a man, not the king. Or at least he tried to tell himself that. It's a big school, takes a while. Must get lonely out here, night after night, Elvis observed, his eyes scanning the empty hallways visible through the library doors. Leo nodded slowly. "Sometimes, mostly. I just get used to it. The quiet's good for thinking, and for humming, I guess," he chuckled. "Never thought it'd lead to this, though." Elvis chuckled too. Leo looked at him, really looked at him. The man in the white suit, the legendary face. But what Elvis was saying, it resonated with Leo. He often felt invisible, just part of the background. It was a different kind of loneliness, of course, but the feeling was similar. "Yeah," Leo said softly. "I get that sometimes people just see the uniform. They don't really look at the person wearing it." Elvis nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Exactly. That's why this is so good. No expectations, no cameras, no managers, just a song, two men, and the quiet." He smiled. "It's what I missed. The pure thing." Leo found himself telling Elvis about his life, his simple apartment, his love for old movies, how he'd worked here at the school for over 30 years. He talked about his wife, Sarah, who had passed away 5 years ago, leaving a quiet emptiness that the music sometimes filled. Elvis listened with genuine interest, occasionally asking a question that showed he was truly engaged. Talked about his own early days before the fame exploded, when he was just a kid from Memphis with a guitar. He reminisced about the joy of performing in small clubs, the direct connection with the audience. He spoke about his family, his love for gospel music, and the simple pleasures he missed driving his car without being swarmed, eating a quiet meal just "You know," Elvis said, looking out the library window at the darkened sports field. "I always wanted to do more simple things. Just sit on a porch swing, play my guitar, sing for folks who just wanted to hear a tune, not a spectacle. But once it starts, that train, it's hard to get off." Leo thought about his own life, the simple, quiet life he led. He had always yearned for something more, some grand adventure, but now sitting here with Elvis Presley, he realized the quiet simplicity of his life was exactly what Elvis missed. It was a strange reversal. "It sounds like you just needed a break," Leo offered carefully. Elvis turned back to him, a knowing smile on his face. "Something like that in your Leo. It called me to a quiet break, a chance to just be and to sing, really sing, without all the pressure weighing on every note." Leo felt the responsibility settle over him, a warm and comforting weight. He could provide this space, the quiet, the honest appreciation for the music that Elvis seemed to crave. He wasn't just a janitor anymore. He was the keeper of a secret, extraordinary concert hall, and the trusted companion of a legend. And as the hours of his shift passed, filled with conversation and the occasional hummed melody, Leo felt less lonely than he had in years. The quiet hours of the night had never felt so full. As the night wore on, the conversations flowed easily, like old friends catching up. Leo, once a man of few words, found himself opening up to Elvis in a way he hadn't to anyone in years. He realized this was a unique opportunity, a chance to not just meet a legend, but to connect with a man behind a myth. "You ever think about what you'd do if you could just disappear for a bit?" Elvis asked, running a hand over a leather-bound book on a shelf, not really looking at it. "No fame, no expectations, just a regular Joe." Leo nodded. "All the time, I always thought about traveling, seeing the world. But then I figured, where would I go? And who would I go with? Most folks got families to go home to. I just got my empty apartment." He paused. "It's not so bad, though. I got my routines and my music. Routines can be a good thing, a steady anchor. And music's the best company you can have, ain't it?" They talked about music, beyond just Elvis's own songs. They discussed gospel tunes, old country ballads, and the way a good melody could lift your spirits or help you feel a sadness that needed to be felt. Elvis spoke of his deep love for gospel, how it was the first music he ever truly connected with, long before the rock and roll took over. "There's a purity to gospel," Elvis explained, his eyes distant, as if seeing a far-off church service. "It's straight from the heart, no frills, just a voice and a message. That's what I always aimed for, even with the wild stuff." Leo found himself nodding along. He hadn't realized how deep Elvis's spiritual side was, outside of the glitzy public image. It made the legend seem more human, more relatable. "So, what brings you back, Elvis?" Leo asked carefully, finally daring to delve a little deeper into the mystery of his presence. "Is it just the music? Or is there something else you need to do?" Elvis looked out the window again, his gaze lingering on the quiet campus. "That's a good question, Leo. When I'm still figuring out myself, it's like when you leave, things get left unfinished. Not just songs, but feelings, regrets maybe, and a longing for what was good, what was true." He turned back to Leo. "It feels like I needed to reconnect with the pure joy of singing, not the performance, but the art. And to do that, I needed someone who saw the art, not just the king. Someone like you, Leo." A simple janitor was helping Elvis Presley find peace. It was an incredible thought, almost too big for his mind to grasp. "And it helps me, too," Leo admitted, looking down at his hands. "I haven't felt this connected in a long time since Sarah." Elvis put a comforting hand on Leo's shoulder. "I understand. Leo, loss changes a man. But music can heal, can't it? It can bring back memories, good ones, and remind you that joy is still out there, waiting." They sang another song then, "Love Me Tender." His voice intertwined with Elvis's, a beautiful, haunting melody filling the quiet library. Elvis harmonized perfectly, his voice effortlessly finding the right notes, making Leo's simple tenor sound rich and full. As they sang, Leo felt the sense of purpose. He wasn't just cleaning floors anymore. He was part of something magical. He was providing a sanctuary for a lost soul, a place where a legend could simply be himself and sing from the heart. And in return, Elvis was filling Leo's quiet, lonely nights with a warmth and connection he hadn't known was possible. The music wasn't just a pastime, it was a bridge. The nights that followed settled into a rhythm that became Leo's new wonderful, normal. Every few schists, usually when the moon was full or the air had a certain crispness to it, Elvis would appear. Sometimes he'd be waiting in the library. Other times Leo would find him in the main hall humming along to one of Leo's favorite tunes. Their concerts grew bolder, more varied. They sang Heartbreak Hotel, with Leo managing a surprisingly deep growl for the verses, and Elvis bringing his signature swagger to the chorus. They tackled Jailhouse Rock, Leo tapping his foot, and Elvis swaying just a hint of his legendary moves in the empty hall. Leo's voice, once hesitant, was gaining strength and confidence. Elvis was a patient, encouraging teacher. He'd offer tips, subtle nudges. Leo, lean into that note a bit more. Or, let your voice really carry the feeling there, son. Leo found himself experimenting, trying new things with his voice, realizing it had more range than he'd ever known. He was learning to truly sing, not just hum. Their conversations continued to deepen. Elvis seemed less weighed down, less burdened by whatever invisible force had called him back. He seemed lighter, more joyful. He spoke with the freedom he felt in these moments, away from the expectations and pressures of his public life. "You know, Leo," Elvis said one night, sitting on the edge of a desk in the English office, watching Leo polish the glass on a trophy case. "It's funny. All those stadiums, all those screaming fans, and the purest music I've made in years is right here with you, in this quiet old school." Leo smiled, wiping away a smudge. "Guess some things are better when they're just for you, huh?" "You got it," Elvis agreed, nodding. "The applause is nice, sure, but the feeling of a song truly hitting the right note with someone connecting, that's beyond anything money can buy." Leo noticed other changes too. Elvis seemed to shimmer slightly less, to feel more solid. His presence filled the room more completely. It was as if their sessions were grounding him, making him more substantial. Leo wondered if these concerts were giving Elvis the peace he needed to move on to fully cross over, or if they were strengthening his connection to this world. He didn't ask, he didn't want to break the magic. One night, Leo admitted his old dream of being a singer. "Long buried under decades of practical work. Never thought I had the voice for it, though," he confessed. Elvis looked at him, his blue eyes warm and serious. "You got a good voice, Leo. It's honest. It's got heart, and that's what matters most in music. Talent can be refined, but heart, that's something you're born with." Paused and added, "You could have done it, Leo. You really could." The words resonated deeply within Leo. He'd spent a lifetime believing he wasn't good enough, that his dreams were foolish. Hearing Elvis the Elvis tell him he had a voice, that he could have been a singer, it was like a dam breaking. He felt a surge of emotion, a mix of regret for lost opportunities, and a profound gratitude for this impossible gift. "Thank you, Elvis," Leo said, his voice thick with emotion. "No one's ever said anything like that to me before." "Well, it's the truth," Elvis replied, a gentle smile on his face. And the truest himself off the desk. "Now how about we try Suspicious Minds? I bet you can hit that low note in the chorus, Leo." Leo grinned, picking up his mop with a new lightness in his step. He knew he was just a janitor, and Elvis was a legend. But in these quiet hours, under the humming fluorescent lights, there were just two men making music, sharing secrets, and finding a deep, unexpected friendship. And Leo, the quiet janitor, had never felt so alive, so seen, so utterly joyful. The music wasn't just living on, it was thriving, born anew in unexpected harmony. The weeks flowed by each night, shift a potential stage for their private concerts. Leo found himself looking forward to work, not just as a duty but as an opportunity for something extraordinary. The school, once a place of quiet routine, now held a secret magic. Elvis appeared almost every night now, sometimes waiting for Leo, sometimes joining him midway through a hall. They'd sing for an hour or two whatever songs came to mind, and then they'd just talk. Leo had never known such companionship. "You know," Elvis Leo said one night as they sat in the empty cafeteria, the moonlight streaming through the high windows, "you seem different now, more at peace." Elvis nodded, a faint smile on his lips. "I feel it, Leo, like a weight lifting these visits, this singing with you. It's been good for my soul. It's reminded me of the simple joy, the pure heart of the music, before all the noise." His blue eyes soft. "You've given me a gift, Leo. A chance to just be Elvis the singer, not Elvis the king. And that's something I haven't had in a very long time." Leo felt a pang in his chest. A gift, what he considered a simple act of humming, of being a quiet audience, had been a profound experience for Elvis. It also made him wonder about the nature of Elvis's presence. If he was getting more peaceful, did that mean he was preparing to leave? "So," Leo began, trying to sound casual, "does this mean you might not be around much longer?" Elvis sighed, a soft, wistful sound. "Everything has its season, Leo. And every song has its last note. I'm feeling a pull, a different kind of call now. A sense of completion, I guess you could say." He didn't say where he was being pulled, but Leo understood. Back to wherever he belonged beyond this world. A quiet sadness settled over Leo. He knew this couldn't last forever. He had embraced the impossible, reveled in the magic, and now he had to prepare for its end. But even with the sadness, there was gratitude. He wouldn't trade these moments for anything. "I understand," Leo said, his voice a little thick. Elvis reached out and put a hand on Leo's shoulder, a firm, comforting touch. "Me, too, Leo. More than you know. But some things, they stay with you. The music, the memories. They don't just disappear. They become part of who you are." He paused, then a mischievous twinkle entered his eyes. "Besides, there's one more song I want to sing with you, Leo. A special one. A proper farewell for two men who found a rare harmony." Leo looked up, intrigued. "What song?" "How about My Way?" Elvis suggested. "It's a powerful song, Leo, about living life true to yourself, about having no regrets. And I think, after all these talks, we both understand that a little better now, don't we?" Leo nodded, a lump in his throat. "My Way. It was perfect. A song about facing the end, about reflection, about a life lived on one's own terms. And it was a song about honesty, something they had both found in their quiet, late-night conversations. He knew this would be different. This wouldn't just be a fun sing-along. This would be a moment of profound significance. A final, beautiful duet between a janitor and a king, bridging worlds with the power of music and a genuine connection. Leo braced himself, ready to pour every ounce of emotion he had into this final heartfelt performance. He was ready to sing his way. The next night, Leo arrived at school, with a heavy heart, yet a feeling of quiet anticipation. This was it, the final concert. He hadn't seen Elvis yet, but he felt his presence, a gentle hum in the air that wasn't just the building's ventilation. He started his routine, sweeping the main hall, his mind going over the lyrics to My Way. It was a bold song, full of grand pronouncements. Could he, Leo, a humble janitor, truly sing it? As he rounded the corner into the main entrance, he saw him. Elvis was standing by the large double doors, looking out into the dark night, a contemplative expression on his face. "Ready for our last song?" Elvis asked, his voice gentle. Leo nodded. "As I'll ever be." "Good," Elvis said, pushing off the doorframe. He walked to the center of the spacious entrance hall, the high ceilings making it feel like a grand stage. He motioned for Leo to join him. Leo walked over, standing beside him. The air seemed to thicken with emotion, a mix of sorrow and deep appreciation. Elvis took a deep breath, then began, his voice clear and strong, filled with a lifetime of experience and reflection. And now, the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. Leo joined him on the next line, his voice steadier than he expected. My friend, I'll say it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. They sang together, their voices weaving around each other, each line imbued with meaning. It wasn't just a song. It was a testament. Leo found himself pouring all his quiet pride, his small triumphs, his moments of simple joy into the words. He had lived his way in his own quiet corner of the world. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway. But more, much more than this, I did it my way. Elvis looked at Leo as he sang that line, a knowing smile in his eyes. Leo felt the connection deeper than any melody, a true understanding between them. The song built in power, their voices rising, filling the grand space. Regrets I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. Leo felt a tear trickle down his cheek. He wiped it away quickly. This was a farewell, yes. A celebration of a friendship of music, of a life found in unexpected places. As they reached the climactic final lines, Elvis's voice soared, powerful and full of emotion, yet somehow still tender. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has naught. Leo joined him. Their voices perfectly harmonized, a rich, vibrant sound, to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. The final note hung in the air, vibrating, then slowly faded into silence. The silence this time was profound, filled with unspoken goodbyes and lingering warmth. Elvis turned to Leo, his eyes shining. He reached out and clasped Leo's hand. A firm, real grip. Thank you, Leo greased, for the company, for seeing me. Coys, for the company. Thank you, Elvis, for everything. For the songs, for making me feel like I could sing, for making these nights something special. Elvis smiled, a sad yet peaceful smile. He slowly pulled his hand away. He took a step back, and then another. The edges of his form began to blur, to shimmer, just like the first time Leo had seen him. The light around him intensified, becoming a gentle golden glow. Keep humming, Leo, Elvis said, his voice becoming more ethereal, softer like a whisper on the wind. The music, it never really dies. And then, with a final radiant burst of light that left a faint, sweet smell of gardenias in the air, Elvis was gone. The hall was empty again. The fluorescent lights hummed their lonely tune, but Leo wasn't lonely. He stood there, his hand still tingling from Elvis's touch, a single tear rolling down his cheek, but a warmth spreading through his heart. He felt changed, fundamentally altered by this impossible, beautiful friendship. He had truly sung with the king, and it would stay with him always. The school hall was silent once more. The last shimmer of golden light gone, Leo stood there alone, the broom still leaning against the wall where he'd left it. The silence felt different now, not empty, but filled with a rich echo, a lingering warmth that settled deep in his chest. Elvis was truly gone this time. There was no doubt. The farewell had been clear, beautiful, and final. A bittersweet ache settled in Leo's heart, but it was overshadowed by a profound sense of gratitude. He had met a legend. He had shared music with a king. And in doing so, he had found a part of himself he never knew was missing. He slowly walked over to his mop bucket, the familiar tools, a comforting anchor in the cerulean afterglow. He picked up his broom, the bristles scratching softly on the linoleum. His shift wasn't over yet. The floors still needed cleaning, the trash still needed emptying, life in its practical, everyday way continued. But Leo was not the same Leo who had started this shift or any shift before it. He moved with a new lightness in his step, a quiet confidence that hummed beneath his skin. He still had his routines, his quiet nights, but they were no longer lonely. They were filled with memories, with the echo of a beautiful voice, and with the knowledge that he had been part of something truly magical. As he swept the main hall, he found himself humming again. Not "Can't Help Falling in Love," this time, but "My Way." His voice was stronger, clearer, imbued with a newfound richness. He sang the words not just as lyrics, but as his own truth, shaped by the impossible friendship he had just experienced. "I've lived a life that's full," he hummed, his voice carrying in the quiet hall. "I traveled each and every highway." He paused, looking around the empty school, the place that had become his unexpected concert hall. But more. Much more than this. I did it my way. He wasn't famous. He wasn't a rock star. And now he had a secret that would last him a lifetime, a memory that would warm him on the coldest night. He thought of Elvis's words, "Keep humming, Leo. The music, it never really dies." And he knew it was true. The music lived within him. It had found its way into his heart, changed him and given him a voice he never knew he possessed. From then on, Leo continued his nightly routine, the familiar squeak of his mop bucket, the quiet hum of the fluorescent lights. But now when he hummed an Elvis song, he wasn't just a fan lost in a melody. He was remembering a friend, a duet, a shared secret that had transformed his quiet existence. He sometimes wondered if anyone would ever believe him. If he told the story, he knew they wouldn't. And that was okay. This was his story, his gift. It was a private concert for two, a bond that transcended time and space, leaving behind a lingering melody in the heart of a janitor who truly did it his way. And that was more than enough. The music, the connection, the magic, it would always be with him a heartwarming echo in the silent hall.